Hey gang, Nate here doing the Options Locator March 21st, 2021 newsletter video. Just gonna dive right in. We've got Bumble BMBL, not one I have really ever played much. Had the inside day set up here and never triggered. It's got a nice downward trend line going on here. Inside week, these 4 or 5 candles here inside, really just these 2 candles following earnings there. So we'll see if we can get an inside week up here. Go long over this downward trend line or over 70 with targets of 74, 74.58, and 76.49. Really, as far as going short on it, as long as it holds this 58 level, you could short it here, but I wouldn't anticipate too much under 58. CELH, we had this one this week a couple times. So looking for this gap entry. They filled this gap here off earnings. So now they kind of just taken the sideways, small rounding formation here. Still looking for a solid push over 50, get us into that gap fill. As long as it holds this and 41.71, so around 42. As long as those hold, I anticipate that gap getting filled to the upside sooner rather than later. CRM, it's kind of been wishy-washy. We've had a couple breakouts here and there on it, and then pulled back, had earnings, but still holding on to 200. I like a move over this downward trend line. As long as this upward trend line holds, get in around 213.50, then look for a target of 218.17, and then 220.20 would be my initial targets on this one. DraftKings DKNG, trying to make new highs here. 75 will be a key number, so it's about right here. But just kind of pulling back, moving up, pulling back, so making higher highs, lower and higher lows. So I'm really looking for a nice breakout here. We can get over 75. I think that'll be important. You got a wick here, and they're trying to wick it here. But as long as we can close over 74, that'd be ideal. And then make a nice run up over 75. I don't know how much of the March Madness they're able to you're able to bet on and stuff. So, but I feel like right now is a pretty big time for them, especially with March Madness not happening last year. And so we'll see if they can get a solid push this year. Docu, as long as 200 holds, I think this is a good move, a good reversal play. It's held this line for a while. I actually had it only to here. I extended it out, and it actually didn't even have to adjust it. It went right to it. So kind of in this range here. I was really hoping for a breakout here over 260, but couldn't get it, and then it failed, pulled back. So as long as we get over this 210 area, I feel like we have a pretty good run at 220, 225, and 226.30 plus there. So 200's got to hold though. If 200 doesn't hold, then we come back and retest this line here. Fuel cell, pretty decent move here. I think it's double inside week. Yeah, it's a double inside week. It's got a small descending downward trend line here, small little gap in this tight little channel here. I'd like for it to get over 15, over 16, close this gap up to around 17, and then make a push through 18 to really get going. It's kind of been a laggard as of late. It's not making this move that it made before. It's just kind of moving sideways. So I'm looking for a potential breakout there this week. Guild, nice bottom here it's been forming. You know, I don't want to call it a triple bottom, but you know, formed it here, retested it here and here. So now they're moving back up. I'd like to see a breakout over 65. Get over 65, test these two highs here, 66, 66, and then break out over that up towards 68 plus. I think that could be a good solid move. So when it filled it here, it was just this gap. So they filled the short-term gap, and then they pulled it back. And then they filled that gap, this gap. So if we can get over 65, I'd like to see a nice run towards 68. INMD, I think another one that's a double inside week. So they tried breaking out this downward trend line on Friday, couldn't quite close it over. So if we can get a move over 72 this week, get over 74.50 here, and then make a run up here around 78, I think we can make a nice push. KHC, it's the nemesis of the gap, but you know, it held 36 a couple weeks ago. It broke out over 38, and now we're looking for a breakout over 39, 70, 75, push over 40. I think this gap goes to 48. It's the mother of all gaps here. So it goes up to around 48. And see if we can. I'm not saying we're going to get that filled by any means, but it did see some nice buying. And then, you know, if you readjust your trend line here, it's just making, you know, higher lows. So it looks pretty good to me. I would like to see it really over 39.71 to make a push. I got the April 40 calls on that, so potential swing. They're pretty cheap, so I'm liking this one for a longer term play here. Oracle, you know, it took the double inside day to an outside day during the week, but I didn't have my alert on those days. I had on the gap entry. It didn't trigger. Came close. Came within 3 cents of triggering. So now I'm still hopeful on the gap. You could enter here over 67 with anticipation of it getting up to 68.10 and then into the gap. But I'm going to leave my alert on 68.10 to not rush it and let it work for us rather than us trying to work for it. So, you know, it's holding this old breakout area here. So you see how it's it wicked down on the earnings, and now we're retesting it here. It's holding. So it's an old breakout. Something that happens pretty often. So now I'm hopeful that we can get over 67, work towards 68.10, and get us up into that gap. Purple, over 35 or no 34.05. It's an inside day, so I'm looking for an inside and up over the downward trend line over 34.05. Gets up to 35.36. It's not much of a move, but it's still close to a 6% move there. So it's been pretty good. I like how it bounced back off of earnings a couple weeks ago on that Friday. So it's a pretty nice move. Now they're just trying to complete this gap fill. So over 34.05, I'd like to swing it to 36. Peloton had the news this week of a child getting killed, so that didn't bode well for them. So I think they've been issuing some safety releases and kind of covering their ass as far as that goes, but it's a very unfortunate accident that happened. I don't know all the details, but yeah, it's just unfortunate that anybody had to die, especially a child. So over that downward trend line, they came back on Friday and they held it up pretty well. As long as 100 holds, I think they'll be okay. Pretty mental, psychological number there. So they tried taking it down twice. They couldn't hold it below it. So I think the reversals inevitable right here. Take out this downward trend line, we can just kind of take out all these candles here. I'd like to see a move at least up to 125. Solo, this will probably be a challenge play. I like it through this downward trend line, basically over 550 or so. Get up here to 6, and then up towards 7. They closed this gap here a couple weeks ago, so as long as 5 holds, I think it's okay. Really looking for that breakout of that trend line there. Stitch Fix, kind of in a, I don't say predicament, but it's in a vulnerable situation here. Sandwiched between these two gaps. If the downward trend line breaks here, we got a good chance of holding 55, getting back up to 60, and then closing this gap up to around almost 68. But a pretty big gap here below. So if 50 breaks, then we're going to retest these lows, 47.51. So as long as 47.51 holds, I wouldn't anticipate getting into the gap too far. But if that breaks and we see 47, then I think we could see 45 pretty quick. So I might test, that high. That high is 42.38. Not saying we get a complete gap fill. I might get a partial gap fill though. But through this downward trend line to the upside over 55, I think we retest at least 60, and so 60.41 is that high there. So kind of a tricky situation to be in right here with it, but I think it gives us a good opportunity with it. So, and then going on to the other setups, just a couple this week. DM, it's got a nice little flat top going on right here, breaking out over 21.50. Small gap here up to around 24. I'd like to swing this one and with some $25 calls with either the April or May calls. But I do like it here. So again, retested the old support here around 16. So they bounced it off 16 here. So this old support became support once again. And now they're trying to take it up. So kind of, same situation here. There's a nice little flat top here, and then it busted out. So looking for the same situation here this week. Home Depot, hard to ignore that candle and that candle there. They filled this gap, and now we're looking at some all-time highs. Home sales out this week, and looking pretty good, to be honest with you. Good chance of taking out the current high of 292.95 and making a run towards 300. This candle here is I don't know, $6 or whatever. Who's to say we can't go $6 more, so, or even bigger. So all the I don't know if you noticed on all the charts, the volume on Friday, I think that's a lot of the volume is the rebalancing with it being OPEC, so I don't pay too much attention to that volume on OPEC stays and stuff. A lot of rebalancing, just a heads up. Low, same situation. Kind of take the pick of your choosing there with Lowe's or Home Depot as far as which one to take. I think I would prefer Home Depot, but both sitting here at all-time highs, a chance to break them. Home sales out this week, so good swing setups here on the breaks for potential new highs. And left, this is probably one of my favorites, holding this upward trend line. They had news this week of the most riders in a week since the pandemic started, so that's boding well for them. And all things considered, from where it was back in October here, it's ramped up pretty much, or pretty far. So what I'm liking about this is if you really zoom out, so you have the resistance here around 68.33 from here. But is this gap here around 75? And then, we're not too far off the IPO high. So I know the IPO high was 88 there. I know some people who bought at 88, and so that's not good. So we're not too far off the highs there. Another 30%, and we're there. I mean, that's not too far off. So I'm liking this gap here around 75. If we can break out over 68, 50, 70 here, and I think that gap gets filled rather quickly. So especially with the news of the reopenings and the most riders they've had in a week and stuff, I think this one's going to be a pretty good play long term. So that's pretty much all I have this week. I'm hoping for better action this week. I hope that we get some direction, whether it's up or down. I don't really care, because we can play both sides of it, long or short. And as long as we get some better action than this past week with the choppy action that we saw. So Monday might be pretty interesting with a lot of inside days and double inside weeks and inside weeks. And so I'm kind of thinking that kind of lay low on Monday and see how things shape up and come out of the gate on Tuesday. So just don't be in a rush to get into anything beginning of the week. Kind of maybe get a feel for things on Monday, and then make your move on Tuesday if that suits you better. So hope you guys all have a good week, and then hope you enjoy the newsletter, and let me know if you have any questions on any of the plays. Thanks.